Hello, everyone, and welcome back to D&D&D&D&D campaign number 2 of Black Ink and Blue Blood. When we last left off, the party infiltrated the great city-sized airship constructed by Tropu Bikok and manned by himself and his apprentice Brogdu. Infiltrating the airship, taking an unfortunate casualty along the way, the party managed to kill both the goblin and the tengu running the show, and faced off against an army of mechanical monstrosities built by none other than Dr. Ampere Kaloum, the elvish antagonist who seems to shadow everything associated with the Concord. However, victory in the end was the party's, and as Lucian made to sabotage the weapon systems to ensure that the unaware crew would not continue to bombard Sundragon, Lucian discovered that the goblins and Kotengu of the crew were in fact the lost family of Raccoon, or at least Raccoon's original body. And on reuniting, the two are in tears, sharing an embrace the following morning. Meanwhile, while this was happening, Zephyr, alongside his Icar child, Red, managed to infiltrate Capacitas in the middle of a literal war zone and rob what relative paltry little was left in the bank after all was said and done. With that, as Zephyr and Red relax and lay low for a little bit, waiting for their party to finish the job that Zephyr planned out, Lucian and Gil, the two of you come downstairs from the upper offices of the balloon where Tropu and Brogdu lived for several years, and find Caleb and Caro slowly awakening themselves. And you see Raccoon in the embrace of the goblin woman who went by Nixie, that Lucian had recruited to assist in the goings-on. And the two say nothing, but Caro, Caleb, Lucian, and Gil, as you're all awake and observing what's happening before you, the goblin woman just looks to all of you, and now that you're looking at her, the resemblance is actually rather uncanny. While she doesn't share Raccoon's unique physical defects, she does share Raccoon's kind of scrunchy face and dark eyes, and the very expressive and curved ears. And
I'd like to go over there and say to Raccoon and Nixie.
All right, by all means.
I'll just walk on over and give Raccoon a little pat on the head and smile at Nixie. And then I'll look at Raccoon. I know that this doesn't make up for what I did, but I hope it can be a start.
Raccoon kind of huddles in Nixie's arms and thinks for a moment as Nixie kind of mutters in her ear in Goblik and runs a hand through her hair. And eventually Raccoon speaks up. I already said that I forgave you, but thank you. All of you.
I'm gonna give her a hug and just squeeze her tight. I was thinking that you guys could take the airship and take it to the mountains and live together in the city and make your own city in the mountains. As long as you guys don't hurt our friend.
You can see the goblins, what's left of them, as at this point the Kotengu are helping get people off the ship. Nixie kind of looks to the remaining goblins and back to you, and that's very kind of you. Thank you. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
just have a few things to get off the ship, and you guys can pretty much have whatever's left, you know? It's a city, and there's lots of things to sustain you guys, and maybe you could even establish a trade with Sundragon.
Not many are willing to negotiate with our kind, but
I'll make a good recommendation. Don't worry.
thank you, miss. I'm sorry we can't be of more help to any of you, but you've done all of us on the ship a service, ridding us of those two. Anything on the ship is yours. We'll salvage the rest and use the foundations to make something better. And she looks down to Raccoon and kind of parts the hair out of her eyes and gives her a goblin tooth smile. I think we've been without a proper boss for too long. And Raccoon kind of looks around at all the other greenskins and the allies she has made along the way, and seems a little overwhelmed, but Nixie kind of puts a hand on her shoulder and we'll adjust, get through it. And if worse comes to worse, there's always the underground. But if any of you ever need us for anything, well, we may be just goblins, but we know how to fly this thing. We know how to work its weapons.
I'll give you guys a call when we're ready to go kill Cool, because I think Raccoon deserves closure there.
Raccoon kind of gives you a nod, but reaches into her pocket and holds out a small, kind of cotton candy blue and pink lollipop. You recognize it as the one that the Scar Concord gave her largely in jest, but that she had held on to. And as she holds it out to you, she kind of smiles and, in case we can't make it, or we can't get to you, just remember that I wanted to give him this before we kill him, and make sure he knows that it's from me.
I'll take the lollipop and that, and I'll just kind of get down to her level and look her in the eyes. I was him into the truth with it, don't worry.
Raccoon gives a nod and holds her mother's claw, and the two of them look over all of you and give a low bow of the head in thanks, and begin to gently rouse the other goblins to awaken those who haven't already, and begin to file out of the ship's cabin. And as
I'll
they
look
do
over to
so,
Gil and see if he wants to say goodbye, because that's his girl.
He doesn't know how to say goodbye.
Gil, come here.
He'll just put his arms out for Raccoon for at least one more hug before he lets her go.
as Raccoon and her mother are walking away, she kind of looks over her shoulder at all of you, and seeing Gil open up their arms, immediately scuttles across the cabin and leaps into your arms. And the two of you share a quiet, tight embrace. And Nixie kind of pulling their hat low out of respect and looking over all of you. She turns her attention now to Cato and Caleb and giving you a nod of the head. Thanks for getting us out of the mess we were in. Anything on the ship is yours. We don't have much use for it now anyway. Whatever you don't take, we'll park ourselves somewhere out of the way, and whatever you leave us, we'll make do with. As Raccoon breaks away from Gil and quietly returns to her mother, the two say their goodbyes to all of you, and with all the goblins in tow, file out of what used to be Tropu's cabin. What would the four of you in the central cabin like to do?
Time to go to the city, don't you?
Yeah, Caleb was ready to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Kato?
Yeah.
We'll be back for
Yeah.
all of the treasure. We need to go down there
Okay.
and do our.
Also, apologies for the...
Once we get down, there's one thing he wants to do before we go to the city,
Okay, noted.
but he'll let them go on ahead.
Okay. Also, I apologize for the animal noises earlier. My cat decided that they weren't, in fact, going to sit quietly as they had appeared to be doing so I just kicked them out of the room. All right. Gil, I presume you're... I'm going to say you can carry two of the party members, and Lucian can featherfall themselves again. Is that okay with everyone?
Good for me.
Yeah.
Unless I can go grab that broom of flying real quick.
Well, you don't know where it is. You don't even know there's one on the
Okay.
ship yet.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah. Patience.
Yeah. I know.
Okay. Lucian, you don't waste much time. You've done this dance a couple times already. You're ready to do it again. You basically go into a skydiving free fall off the edge of the airship to start falling towards the desert ground.
I can do a Caro as well.
I got him.
Yeah,
Well,
Gil,
I mean, whoever you can't carry, I can featherfall with me. I can cast it.
I
Gil-
have,
And it will carry
Gil
me.
can carry those who aren't you, basically, and you can featherfall,
Yeah.
so you're fine.
Yeah, don't touch me.
Gil, taking Caleb and Caro, your hover boots seeming recharged by time spent in disuse, fly off the side and slower than Lucian's outright free fall, as you have to kind of go in short bursts to avoid snapping you or your compatriots' necks. Lucian, with your approach, you end up landing first. You've been away from the caravan for a couple days now, and but you find Butters the horse still standing by faithfully. The raptors are in a small huddle off to the side, but do turn up their heads as you guys start to approach the ground. And on closer inspection, though, you do not see Zephyr or Red present at the caravan.
Oh shit.
That's not surprising.
$10, he went to the treasury.
Oh god.
Yeah,
Does
Gil.
he not understand that these are the people that are on our side? Like, what the fuck,
So you
Zephyr?
forget that he's a rogue and likes to steal shit?
That's not the point, Gil. I don't care if you steal from people that we don't like. That's one thing. But stealing from people that we do like and that are our allies, that's just wrong in too many ways.
Yeah, but at least we can say one thing about Zephyr. He doesn't discriminate.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, Gil, you come to a landing a little bit after Lucian, and as the two of you begin to discuss Zephyr and Red's seeming disappearance. Caro, as Gil drops you and Caleb off, your Suchomimus immediately darts out of the carriage, but kind of stops and sniffs curiously at the blue dragon hatchling, who immediately scuttles down your leg and sniffs at them curiously. And the two of them kind of start like doing that little circling thing where they're just kind of getting a read on each other. But eventually the Suchomimus kind of gives a small, one of those like kind of animalistic bows indicating a form of submission. And the blue dragon kind of puffs out their chest and wiggles their head. And Garrow, you can hear Garrow kind of give a from the carriage and hoist themselves out as well. From the looks of it, it seems Garrow was a little impatient, especially given that they had to wait in the desert while you were away.
Sorry, Daryl. We just had to take care of this very quickly.
Garrow kind of bumps their head against your waist in a gesture of affection and turns their gaze up to the airship and kind of looks to you with interest. Seems like Garrow may have expected a bit more of a, oh, the humanity, than
Well, that happened at first when they killed the big dragon, but we took over the ship.
Garrow's ears kind of wiggle.
Speaking of dragon, did we ever find out if there were any other dragon eggs on the ship?
We haven't looked yet.
Yeah. This is all happening like the morning after you guys fought against an army of robots and killed the two captains. Yeah, just give it time.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Did all the stuff offhand, off screen.
I'm sorry, I'm just full of curiosity.
With that, are you guys prepared to pack up your caravan and head into Capacitas?
Stop.
Before Gil goes, he wants to go find the leg and head of the dragon that he cut off before scavengers have a chance to get into it too much.
Okay. Make I'm going to call this an investigation check. All right, so Gil's wandering off to go try to find the fallen dragon body parts. Kato, are you doing anything noteworthy?
Kara's gonna see to her many pets.
Yeah, just feed them, water them.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a dirty 20.
Okay.
Sorry about the dog. I got it under control.
No worries. Yeah, and I got the cat situation sorted. All right, so Caro, I'll say if you divvy it up, I'll say if Lucian gives you a cast of create food and water, do you have that prepared?
I don't know. I didn't prepare my spells today, so I could still do it. No, I have create will destroy water.
Create water will do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Caleb gets some water, by the way. His
Absolutely.
water is out.
Yeah, we've established that Lucian with that spell can do enough to fill everyone's canteens like many times over. So no worries. Okay. Lucian, Thankfully, having the spell prepared, you say a prayer and fill up everyone's water skins. And Caro, you take the opportunity to feed, feed and water your various animals. Caleb, are you doing anything?
Caleb was ready to get the fuck off this damn airship already.
They are off.
We
Oh,
are
we
off.
are?
Yeah, like that was y'all
So
coming
he's-
down, and y'all are just
You know.
at the cart.
Well, then he's just wanting to go back to the city then.
Okay.
Yep, I'm ready to
Uh,
get to the city too.
All right. Caleb and Lucian, the two of you see to setting up the caravan to leave. Caro, you see to the feeding and watering of the animals. Thankfully, again, with Lucian's spellcraft, you're able to make sure everyone gets watered and knock off 2 days of rations for every mouth you have to feed, which would be the 6 raptors, the Suchomimus, the dragon, the horse, and Ghetto.
I have
Oh,
extras.
and your spider. So
It's
that's
all fruits and vegetables, but I can help.
yeah, so that should be believe 24 days of rations, 6 raptors, spiders, Suchomimus.
Unfortunately, I think most of them are carnivores.
Yeah. But yeah, do you have enough rations to feed everyone, Carol?
I'm checking. Give me a second.
Yeah, 6 raptors, spiders, Suchomimus, dragon, ghetto. Oh no, sorry, my mistake. You will need 20. It was a little bit off. Yeah, you'll need 20 days of rations to feed everyone.
Fuck, it's empty from maintenance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the downside of having a shit ton of NPCs following you. You actually have to, babysit them.
Which is true. And I do not at the moment, but I will.
Well, how
feed
much
them as
do
soon
you
as
have?
I have like 7 right now.
Okay. All right.
I could drop her a few because I'll see her doing that before I head out.
All right. Caro, you throw them the rest of your food. Gil, you can give up 4 rations, which will feed them for today, but they'll still be a bit. Basically, they will still have gone an entire day without eating because there's not a whole lot to hunt in this desert, given that the robots are killing everything. So
We had 7.
Until we get into the city, then you guys can like put them in the where do you put the animal?
But she said she had 7, right?
yes.
Sorry,
Yeah, that means,
Amanda's having
I need to give off 13.
Well, you give off 13 to make sure that they're not hungry at all, but 3 if you want to just feed them for the day, and then
I'll give out 13. I got plenty.
all right. Keto, you give out all the rations you have left from your shopping trip in, I believe Yarman was the last time you bought rations.
Yep.
You give out the last of your Argosian rations, and the raptors hungrily snatch it up before any of your other creatures even get a chance. But Gil, seeing the kind of arguments that are starting to brew among your little traveling carnival, throws out almost 2 weeks worth of rations, which Gero, the Suchomimus, the dragon, and all greedily start to scoop up. And Kero, you let your spider get in on the action as well.
Yes, thank you, Gil. I will buy them more food when we get into the city.
Yeah, if you need help ever feeding them, just let me know. Always willing to help.
Okay. Caleb, you and Lucian hook up the caravan to get it ready to move. Kero, once all the animals are fed, you take I'm assuming you take your usual spot. Usually you're either on top of or in the back seat. Where do you want to sit this time? Just for flavor.
I guess just
okay. Hopping in the back seat. Caleb and Lucian comfy in the carriage. Gil, taking your seat at the driver's coach seat. You give Butters a "yeah," and the fat horse begins to slowly pull the
Bum,
carriage
bada,
along.
bada, bum, bada,
Blum.
bada, bada.
Sorry, I'm switching the music real quick. Travel through the desert is never easy by any stretch of the mind. And this carriage was not made for desert travel.
Sorry.
It almost kind of furthers the image that Lucy and you in particular have in your head, that the Sundragon people must just be so tough and resilient to live out here and make this their capital of all places. As you guys make it closer to the central walls, which in and of itself takes quite a while, by the time it's like late afternoon, you're starting to crest the hill dunes that surround Capacitas, and you are all relieved to see that either because you guys exhausted their reinforcements or because Tropu and Brogdu are no longer there to give orders, the robot war front has gotten significantly lessened. And as you're all taking a minute to just take in the surroundings, make sure it's safe to continue on and whatnot, yes, Gil, from your search, searching your immediate surroundings, you did not find them. However, as the party is looking at the walls and surrounding area to ensure that the robot issue is indeed being resolved, you turn your attention to your surroundings, and you do see in a nearby I say valley, but this little divot in the hills, you do see a lot of the wreckage of the parts of the airship that had been damaged in the fight and fallen to the ground. You do not see the head and the arm anywhere. However, you do see surrounding and coating parts of the wreckage, dried, calcified sloughs of ichor.
So Gil is going to who's closest that could take over driving the cart?
I can take it. Oh, well, I'm inside, but just ask her.
Caro, she's pretty close by, right?
Yeah, everyone who's not Zephyr is in the cart, basically. So, or in the carriage, rather.
So he's going to stop the cart / carriage, and let him know, hey, I want to go look for the head and the arm before scavengers get to it, and then I'll meet y'all at the city. Do I need to bring it back?
Yes, please. If you can find it, and then bring it to me so I can give it to her.
I don't know if that's a good idea. Not exactly the best idea to bring someone's pet's head.
It's better to bury something than nothing.
I'll see how the condition. And he'll activate his boots and head that way.
All right. Lucian, taking over the carriage, you give one final check of the surroundings before getting Butters to start descending the dune hills. As Gil, you fly off into the distance to investigate the rubble from the fight. Lucian, Caleb, and Kiero, as the three of you make your way down the dunes, you see that there are a very sparse few stragglers of robots, but it appears that they're all kind of congregated in one single area, and you're able to make out what appears to be a group of Sundragon soldiers, likely a patrol, taking them down, as this seems to be the last vestiges of the airship's invasion force. And Lucian, being out of the cart and having the clearest view, get what to you is a fantastic and welcome sight of a head of blonde hair wielding a dual set of katars, striking down one of the serpentine robots. What to all of you had been a ordeal to take down one, Queen Sundragon takes down in a single fiery strike. You can see what could be mistaken for dragon fire emerging from her katars with every strike.
That's cool. I just kind of like freeze and like, she is so cool. She is frozen in spot. Like, she can't move.
Is Caro navigating right now? I'm unclear on exactly what's going on.
Okay. Lucian's driving.
I know that Gil is going to check on stuff. I just wasn't sure who was driving.
Lucian is driving.
I am.
Okay.
Yeah, this is not your favorite terrain, so there's no benefit to you navigating. However, I will say, Caro, as you kind of poke your head out to see why the carriage has suddenly come to a stop, you can see the patrol in the distance, finishing off what appears to be what's left of the various sorry, my brain just kind of froze there. Finishing off the various constructs.
So Caro's gonna grab the reins from Lucian and have Butters continue.
Yeah, Caleb, you watch as Caro kind of crawls up to the front seat and just with a completely smooth and, from the sounds of it, unresisted motion, just move to get Butters to continue.
Hey, it was just like, thank the gods.
We're almost there, Butters. Then you can eat. More, anyways.
Do they need to eat more? I mean, they look like they've eaten plenty.
It's motivation.
As you guys continue the journey across the sands,
As we're going by, my neck is like craning. I'm like watching as like we go.
Noted. Lucian, you watch for hours as Caro just nonchalantly takes the reins and gets Butters moving again. And the journey from one end of the airship to the other, even with Butters, still takes the better part of a day. And it is nightfall by the time you guys actually reach the base of the wall. As you reach the wall, you see the same thing that Zephyr had, the posters and graffiti, which appear to be especially conglomerated around the central front gate of Capacitas, almost as if the Sundragons are just advertising how much people used to be terrified of them, and often still are. And
I have a feeling that Gil's not going to be very welcome.
And as you approach the gates, to your surprise, there is a pair of guards at the front gates. A pair of shirtless, kind of thuggish-looking dudes with very, very muscular, I will say. And the two of them kind of give you all a once-over, kind of look to each other with a nod. And Caro, to your surprise, Lucian, you're still literally leaned on the top of the cart to see the Sundragon finishing the battle with the robots behind you. The guards wave up to what appears to be the top of the walls, and after about a minute, Caleb, even from within the carriage, you can hear the of the gates being hoisted open. and the shirtless man, the first one that speaks to you, having a head of kind of messy, wild ginger hair, and this kind of round, like underbite face, just gives you a smile, Caro, and we were expecting you. You can go on in.
Fair enough.
Excuse the dog.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. There's deer and stuff out here that he's barking at.
Mm-hmm. Caro, I'm assuming you proceed through the gate?
Yes.
Okay. Caro, thankful for the hospitality. Give a small nick of the reins and proceed into Capacitas. Unlike Zephyr, who specifically kind of stuck to the outskirts for the most part, you're in Grand Central Station, so to speak, of Sundragon. And all of you, as Lucian, your line of sight with your crush is finally broken. The three of you, Caleb from within the carriage, and Caro and Lucian at the front seat, are able to just kind of look around at the surroundings. While many of the buildings are very badly damaged, many of the roofs have damage taken out of the tile work or outright holes in them. Overall, it's certainly not what any of you are used to, but it is a very nice-looking place. The buildings, as mentioned, are very widespread and towering and have this kind of multi-tier design to them. It's this weird combination of everything being so compact, and you can see that while it's definitely not as crowded as you'd expect a city this big to be at its peak, there is still quite a decent amount of people. And seeing your caravan coming through, people immediately begin to kind of whisper to each other, not even seeming hostile, more just intrigued. And Caleb, you can even glimpse one woman, another ginger-haired woman with blue eyes, and again a very muscular figure, kind of actually just outright walk alongside the carriage to just shamelessly look through the window at you, and you can see her like call over her shoulder to someone in the crowd, just like, "It's true, they actually have a little kid with them. He's so cute."
Caleb is just thinking to himself, I'll show you how little I am.
Oh, he even threatens people adorably.
He didn't say that actually. He didn't say that out loud.
No, I know.
Going on.
Killing him in your brain.
You are all not mobbed. People don't outright get in your way, but people do not seem to have anything resembling boundaries or a sense of personal space. Kara, at one point, a young girl with dark hair literally just hops up into the already cramped coach seat and just sits alongside you. You can see she's wearing like a kind of nice-looking black and red dress, although you notice a bandolier of bullets. And she just smiles to you and just starts making conversation with you as if she's known you her whole life, talking about how hard the battle was and how thankful she is that you guys came to help, and just again, yeah, we all did. I'm a sharpshooter. And she holds up a musket from slung over her back.
Oh, Caro is too.
Yes.
That's so cool. What do you use?
Right now, I've been using this plasma crossbow.
A what crossbow?
I cannot get it out right now, but I will show you.
Please do. My sister and I, we live just down, and like she starts giving you directions to her house. Like everyone in Sundragon seems to act like everyone is their friend, and it really skeeves you out.
Unperturbed.
Caro, you just start like mingling with the townspeople as if you too have known them for your entire life. However, as mentioned, they don't outright move to slow you down, more just every so often distract you. And Caro, you're driving at this point. Where would you like to go?
That is a good question.
You didn't really think this part through.
Yeah, should we go to the castle and wait for her to come back?
Maybe we should go to an inn next to the castle, or close to it.
I'll look down to the little girl. Is there any place like that?
Well, there is a few inns and stuff for travelers, but you can just stay with me and my sister if you want.
All of us. There's a lot of us here.
Yeah, my dad won't mind as long as you guys are willing to help out around the farm.
It's very sweet of you to offer. I think we're going to go to the inn, though.
Okay.
It's very sweet of you.
I do my best. Here, I'll show you guys where the inn is, at least. You said you want one close to the palace?
Yeah, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, sure thing. Follow me. And she hops out of the coach seat and slinging her musket back over her shoulder, kind of pats Butters on the head and just, come on. And Butters just starts to follow her.
I love how the socially awkward girl in the party is like crushing on somebody who's like has a country like this.
Yeah, no, I wanted Sundragon because, you know, Sundragon's whole lore is that, you know, they're people from overseas who just basically invaded and stuck a claim here. I wanted them to kind of have that, basically the sort of, like, stereotypical image of, oh, barbarians, but, like, they're actually just really chill and cool.
I love it. I'm here for it.
The young girl, who has not given her name yet, and doesn't seem to think to do so without prompting, brings you guys along until eventually taking you to a small, again, lightly damaged from the battle, inn, which you can see is kind of giving off like pumps of steam every so often, and you can see a sign hanging over it that's in the shape of a gear that says the Patchwork Inn. And as you guys enter in, I'm guessing you're just gonna get rooms and wait until the queen summons you?
Yeah, I think that would be best.
All right.
Yes, but first I will show the girl the plasma crossbow since we stopped.
She immediately starts looking over it with this just unrestrained fascination, and starts just kind of babbling to herself about just like the iron sights, the caliber. Like, she seems to have a pretty decent understanding of weapon crafting, which is both admirable as she's clearly very smart for her age, because she can't be like at the absolute oldest, she seems to be in her 20s. She's clearly very knowledgeable about the subject, yet also it does kind of off-put you a wee bit that like she's A, clearly a veteran, and B, just openly carries a musket around in town.
What was the tavern?
The Patchwork Inn. With that, as you guys make your way inside, hitching up your caravan, and Caro, as the girl stops and looks at the raptors and various animals you guys have following you, she kind of looks to you and, if you want, I can get your little friends here hooked up at the stable until you guys are done here. Don't worry, the stable guy's a personal friend of mine. He'll take good care of them.
That's the word I was looking for earlier today.
Do not worry,
Oh,
they are nice. None of you attack anyone, okay? They will feed you and brush you if you want.
Soren kind of gives and the girl, kind of curiously looking over them, looks back to you. Do they do any tricks?
I don't think they do tricks per se.
She looks a little disappointed, but gives a shrug and just, all right, little critters, follow me. And she smiles, and with one last kind of cautious look to you, the raptor seeming a little less acclimated to this, follow her as your animals are taken to the stable. Your carriage is hitched up outside the Patchwork Inn, and the three of you head inside. The inn itself is small but comfortable, is the best way you can think to describe it. Overall, it gives you this kind of homey vibe, although everything is a bit warmer than you're used to, and I mean that both emotionally and physically. You can see that the source of the steam coming out through the chimney on the side appears to be coming from a seemingly constantly active fireplace with a cauldron of some sort of stew being brewed. And the man running the establishment, a blonde-haired man with kind of short-cropped hair, but again, as you seem to suspect everyone in Sundragon possesses, a very muscular figure, kind of gives you a smile and a nod. And before any of the three of you can even start negotiating payment for him, he points to each of you individually, and let's see here. Red-headed elf girl, and he kind of, and you notice his eyes start to kind of, his blue eyes start to kind of trace down your body. Yeah, it definitely fits the description. Little frog girl and little blonde boy. Lucian, Caro, and Caleb, right?
Nice trick. I'm betting you've been told about us?
Yep. Queen sent out word to all the taverns, inns, hotels, and motels, and other places that she figured you might be visiting, and said that if you guys showed up here, to make sure she knew and to make sure that we put you up, at least for a night or two, which I'm more than happy to do so. Here, let me get you guys some room keys. You want one altogether, or you guys are a little more prudish about that sort of thing?
I'd like my own, if that's okay.
Same for the two of you?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, no prob. Luckily, I think we got just enough. Here, let me get you some keys. And he basically just goes about the rigmarole of getting you guys set up in the top rooms of the inn.
What is your name? You were at the disadvantage here. What is your name?
Oh, yeah, I guess I did forget to introduce myself, didn't I? And he holds out a hand to you and gives you a smile. Just call me Klein.
Klein?
Yeah, I'd rather not share my last name. It's a little embarrassing.
I'll give him a good handshake. Are you the owner of this establishment?
Yeah, as much as someone can own anything in this town.
All right. That's what I needed to know. All right, I wrote down Klein. Thank you so much.
Happy to help you three. From what the Queen says, you guys, if you haven't already, are planning to do us a real solid. So, thanks. Oh, and dinner will be at 10-ish. Assuming one of those robots doesn't drool in the stew again. So, just come down whenever you feel like it. I'll make sure a bowl's saved for you three.
Is there a place
Do you have
to
anything that's
walk up?
vegetarian?
Hold up. What's that, Caleb?
Is there any ways to maybe wash up? It's been a
Oh
while.
god, the bath would be so nice.
Oh, yeah. The bathhouse is just down the road. Take a right when you're heading towards the gate. Yeah, it's big, round place. Can't miss it. Just don't get it confused with the bank. I've done that once or twice when I was drinking.
Got it.
Okay.
Just so I'll settle my room and then I'll go down there.
That is a great idea, Caleb. I will join you.
Sure thing. And if they don't recognize you to begin with, then just tell them the Queen sent for you, and they'll make sure you're put up all nice and comfy. Oh, and should I be expecting the rest of your little entourage anytime soon?
Oh, you mean Zephyr? Don't know.
Queen also said to look out for a big guy, big Geogran guy with Colonel tattoos, and a little goblin girl.
Gil. Goblin girl, no, she went off with her family, and Gil
Good for her.
should be back later.
All right, I'll make sure he gets put up all nice and good, assuming he shows up. All right, you guys
Yeah,
get
he should.
comfortable. I'll be here if you guys need anything.
I'm gonna
I hope
send
there
Gil a
hasn't
message
been
and let
any
him know where we
trouble.
are.
I hope there hasn't been any reports of trouble from a little red kobold.
Kobold? No, we don't really get kobolds in these parts. There has been a little, apparently a little pygmy saurian robbed the bank not that long ago, though.
Yeah, that would be him.
Yeah, you wouldn't happen to know where to find him, would you? I'm not saying I'm a snitch, I'm just curious.
I will tell you this. If I find him, he will regret it.
Yeah, noted. Definitely not a snitch then.
He took from. I'm not gonna go there. I'm gonna go take a bath. Goodbye.
Yeah, Caleb's gonna get his room first, and then he's probably gonna leave.
Yeah, same
I
with
think
Lucy.
he'll probably go ahead and just leave his armor in his room, but keep his regular clothes on for now, obviously.
Of course. All right.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Kato, anything noteworthy from you?
We'll also
Oh.
take a very long bath.
All right.
One last thing for Lucian. On the way up and down the stairs, she is gonna like meticulously be casting mending on her dress.
Okay. The three of you set about making yourself comfortable in the Sundragon city of Capacitas. Caleb, you, for one of the first times in weeks, if not months, disarmor and arm yourself and can just walk around freely, as with the robot threat mostly contended with and surrounded by a military that is not actively trying to kill you, you finally feel like you can actually relax and be relatively safe. Lucian, as you're mending your dress, you find that the bedrooms that the three of you get are, again, given that you guys have been traveling through not primarily human-occupied territories, these rooms actually feel more like they were made for you to be here, whereas the other ones were made with Dark Elves and Saurians in mind. You find that the rooms are a very humble and simple but comfortable structure. A simple wooden room, a comfortable feather and wool bed. Most of the rooms come with a window viewing the surrounding city, although given the construction of the city, you find, to possibly some of your discomfort, that the windows don't necessarily offer you views of like landscapes or nature, but of another window from a neighboring building, and it almost gives you the impression like they expect people to just pop their windows open and just chat with whoever's in the building across from them. And Lucian, you find with delight that each room does come pre-equipped with a bookshelf that's actually relatively well stocked.
Sure.
And Kato, as you, Caleb, and Lucian make for the bathhouse, you find it. It's a small domed building made primarily out of stone. You find that much as it had been in Ogden, the bath is communal, and there's not seem to be anything resembling a distinction made between the genders.
You know what? At this point, Lucian's like, nothing they haven't seen.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be like, you better get used to it if you're gonna like Sundragon.
That's what I'm figuring.
Yeah, Gil's missing out on this. What a shame.
Speaking of, Gil, as you scour the desert beneath the airship, you make it to the site of the rubble that had fallen loose whenever the dragon's massive head and arm just collided with the relatively thin sheets of metal and sent it and a lot of the support structures cascading down in a rain into the desert below. However, to your frustration, you are not able to find the head or the arm. Instead, you find that, as mentioned before, the wreckage that had fallen appears to be coated in the calcified remnants of ichor, which, as the previous examples always have, anytime you touch or scrape them, they flicker and warp around before just dissipating into dust.
That's disappointing.
You get a message from Lucian telling you where everybody is, and where to go and how to get there. And she quickly adds, "We're in the showers if you want to."
Wow, incentive.
All right.
Does he see any of the items that fell down too?
Well, no items had fallen. It was just wreckage, because basically only a small piece of the airship had fallen loose. Basically, the equivalent of like a chunk of the road. As far as you can see, no items fell loose in the fall. Although, granted, seeing that there are bits of small rubble, it's possible that there was something that just shattered on impact completely, but obviously that would be unsalvageable anyway. You don't find anything in pieces or otherwise that you think would be usable to you. It's just sheets of metal and iron rods just stuck in the stand from the fall, most of which is coated in calcified and warping ichor.
I did not think that would be so loud.
So, at that point, he'll cut his losses and fly back to the city.
Okay. Gil, as you're flying back to the city, again, the party had already arrived there by nightfall. However, between your search of the desert, your going off course, your thorough scouring of the area, and the trip to get to the gates from there, it is well into the night by the time you get to the front gates, even in flight. I will say with the flight to get to the wreckage and away, you get 4 hours of flight in a day, right?
Correct.
So that'll use up your boot's fuel. They kind of start to sputter and struggle just as you're making it to the gates. And as you come for a landing and just pick up your stride, you see that there's actually already a figure, several figures actually, at the front gates. Most of the figures, what little of them are, I mean, they're all clothed, but what little of them that is wearing like pants, basically, they do have a bit of like gold trim or gold coloration. That's the only thing you can see that even resembles a uniform. Most of it, as you had seen in Ogden, is not based on uniform, but based on practicality. Most of the Sundragon soldiers you can see, as you can see, they're all armed to the teeth, sometimes literally. You can see they're all wearing furs. Some of them are going in shirtless and just wearing pants. You can see even the women, their dresses, or rather their skirts, are kind of made in this kind of combat styling where they have like pockets and ammunition belts and things like that. And at the front of them all, you see a tall figure. This figure you see is cloaked head to toe in golden scale mail. On their belt, you can see dual katars. Strung along their back, you can see a bow that's curvation and design evokes the imagery of dragon wings. And at the front of their belt, alongside the katars, you can see what appears to be the tooth of a dragon fashioned into a dagger, and their belt appears to be made out of dragon hide. And peeking out of all of this is a beautiful head of flowing blonde hair, and a pair of dark, almost violet-colored eyes that look you up and down and give you a smirk. And, well, you've certainly gotten more fucked up since the last time I saw you.
Yeah, that does tend to happen.
She wasn't kidding. You got fucked up.
Yeah, plasma and water don't mix very well.
I don't know what that is, but I'll take your word on that, big guy. Yeah, I'll get my doctors to take a look at that. Shit, probably gonna have to import something for something that bad. Whatever, we'll deal with it. So, given that you're here, I take it that, and she points to the airship.
Yeah, it's neutralized.
Good, good. It's a shame, though. I was looking forward to boarding that thing and killing him myself. But I'll take what I can get. And she holds out a hand to you.
So.
She smiles and holds out a golden gauntleted hand out to you. And, well, let me be the first to say thanks.
He'll take it and say, it was fun.
I bet.
My condolences on your friend, Dragon. He fought very well.
She gives a nod, and I bet. And you can see her expression does visibly kind of soften and lose that seemingly perpetual smile. And you can see the other soldiers kind of look down to the ground or kind of at their feet and surrounding, seeming like they don't want to look directly at her while she's doing this. But eventually she sighs and... He died to give the rest of us a chance. Can't ask for more from a man than that. You did what you could, I'm sure.
Yeah, I would have brought back part of the body, but there's nothing left.
It's all right. He left us everything. We can use that to rebuild.
That's good. I'm guessing the others are already inside.
Yeah, and guard said that they got here a couple hours ago. I'm gonna head to the palace and get myself more presentable. Just tell your friends that to meet me there in the morning, all right?
That sounds good. And he's
She
going to head
gives-
to the bathhouse at this point.
All right. Zephyr. Just basically as a sort of general question, is there anything you want to do while just like settling into hiding? It appears the battle has more or less stopped and been won, which is both good in the sense that you don't have to sneak around through an active war zone, but also bad because that means the guards are back to doing their jobs.
Yeah.
So is there anything noteworthy you want to do, or are you good as you are?
Well, I mean, yeah, like I think I said it last time, but just sure I'm gonna put my stuff back on, rearrange some equipment, attune to what needs to be attuned to.
Okay.
Otherwise, he's going to put the bag of holding with all the money in, all the jewels, in a spot.
All right, so you're just gonna chill where you are for a few days? Okay. You all finally get a long rest. As you awaken from your rest, the city of Capacitas has more or less gone back to normal. The only things you occasionally hear or see that imply any sort of ill repute or just anything that immediately concerns you is there is occasional sounds of scuffling or even gunfire, and it appears that it's just the townspeople finding stray robots that were hiding out in back alleys and just killing them and dragging them out to be scrapped for parts. And as the four of you awaken, Gil, I assume you head to you just book a room at the same inn.
Yeah.
All right.
And as he gets there, he'll pass on the message.
All right.
To meet him in the morning.
Gil informs you all, I'd say arriving around by dinner time, that Sundragon will be expecting you in the morning. And as you guys are waking up, you see that, as mentioned, you can see that it seems like pretty much every townsperson is equipped with a weapon of some kind, uses it to bring down any hostile force they see, and then immediately just drag it out as like some kind of public spectacle. You watch at one point as you guys are having breakfast at the inn, you can see out the window, young boy, he has to be like a teenager, like maybe even a little younger than Caleb, one of the flying robots swoops down, but there's not the panic you would expect. He simply unsheaths two daggers and just brings the thing down and cuts its head off. And the crowd just cheers, and you can see a woman, or you presume to be his mother, and a man you presume to be his father, just scoop him up and hug him, and not even with the like, oh, I'm so glad you're safe, but with the, yeah, your first kill! And the boys immediately just hailed by the people of the town, and the people just start immediately tearing the robot apart. And you can see people like trying to figure out uses for the various parts as they rip it to shreds.
Caleb, see this?
Yeah, all of you are down for breakfast at this point.
Caleb's just like, these people remind me of home.
Same, actually, just not quite so friendly.
Kind of comfort. Oh,
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't say it was nice. It's just different.
it's very different. Sure.
I like how apparently the kingdoms in this setting are all one class. Like, the Badger is just rogues, and this is
I'm actually
barbarians.
glad you spotted that. That was intentional.
What are the dark elves? Are they supposed to all be clerics?
Yeah. Or technically not cleric. Remember, this setting was based with Pathfinder in mind, not 5th edition. They're based on the Inquisitor class.
Is there an equivalent in D&D?
I think the closest would be Paladin. That said, do the four of you in the Patchwork Inn have any urgent business, or are you just going to head straight to the palace as requested?
To the palace.
Yes, on to the palace.
Okay.
So has anyone seen Zephyr yet?
I've heard that he broke into the bank.
Hear this?
You don't want to.
Did you?
Of course he did.
I'm trying not to be mad.
Oh, the innkeeper did say that a pygmy Storian got spotted robbing the bank.
It's not hard.
They walked away.
No worries. Yeah, I am sorry. There's not a whole lot for you to do this session. Party split and all.
I did some laundry. I was like, I need.
Okay. All right. As the four of you finish your breakfast, happy to be settling back into a routine of civilization rather than fighting for your life and constant traveling, the four of you eat up and start making your way to the palace. The airship still hovers, shadowing the desert. The goblins do not appear to have started moving it yet. However, hostilities seem...
because we have a lot to do.
The townspeople thankfully appear to have mostly mellowed out, given that pretty much all of you have heard growing up in Yav, or in Kero's case, living here for a few years. you all are aware that Sundragon is pretty much never not at war. It's sort of a tradition of sorts that they are always at war with at least 2 different kingdoms. So the townspeople appear very used to just bouncing from like times of war to time of peace. So there's not like the worry or carnage or damage you would usually see with an attack like what Tropu launched on the city. In fact, you actually catch more than a few people seeming disappointed that the battle's over.
Sorry?
This is my kind of country.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking. Maybe you should marry her.
Don't tempt me.
It was a joke.
He's like,
Hey, don't throw it out there if you don't want it taken.
It was a joke.
As the 4 of you walk through the town, Caro, you immediately are just like recoiling as you can feel yourself like doing that thing like Rango does in the movie where he like shrivels in the sun. This is out in the middle of the desert. It's dry. The wind doesn't help. It's sunny. It's hot. It's not great for your sorry froggy little skin.
She's in her diving suit.
Yeah, but her head's exposed.
She's got her diving suit, right?
Yeah, but her
Where's
head's
her
exposed.
helmet?
She never got one.
Oh, I thought it came with one.
Well, it did, but she refused to use it. Lucian, the sandy, dry winds lick at the hem of your dress. Gil, you even find yourself used to the more temperate, coastal, cold region of Gyoger, find yourself kind of bristling against the dry air. As you guys make your way through the streets, the best way I can describe the imagery of Capacitas itself is it kind of has like an Old West vibe. There's like fights going on as people work out their aggression on each other with robots now being just rounded up and killed. There's less of a paved street. There is some like cobblestone, but it's less of a traditionally paved street and more of just sand that buildings are not immediately in the way of. Everything seems to have been built with more the idea of temporary convenience than out of long-term habitability. But for what it's worth, it seems to work for them. You pass under an apartment building where a woman gives you a friendly wave before seeming to be putting out her laundry. Various birds flit through the air. And, well, again, there are some holes in the rooftops and some of the tiles are damaged and there's some broken windows and things. Overall, life in Capacitas seems to be recovering quickly. The Sundragons are a people that are used to conflict and recovering from such. You pass by the towering central living structures. You pass by the dominating cathedral. Until finally, you arrive at the palace, built up to the top of the northwestern mountain, built into the side in this kind of Minas Tirith-esque construction. An extra set of protective walls surround the palace, and as the 4 of you approach, you see a pair of guards, as you would of course expect. A white-haired woman wielding a rapier and a dark-haired woman wielding a scimitar. And again, physique. But the 2 of them glancing to you and then back to each other, nod, and similar to the guards at the front gate had done, silently send the order for the gates to be opened for you. Hang on, switching over the music again. There we go. As the 4 of you enter into the palace, on the other side of the walls is a shockingly well-kept topiary garden, which seems very out of place given the desert surroundings, but Yeah, it's this like almost like little self-contained oasis.
Does it
You
does it remind me of my mother's garden?
no, this one is like more like tropical plants, whereas yours is more
Okay.
like, native Yavik plants. It appears that these
Right.
are, you don't recognize these plants. They appear to be taken from wherever Sundragon came from originally. As you do recall, she is not Yavik by birth. Well, she was born in Yav, but her parents are not natives.
Mhm.
As the four of you cross this garden, you eventually pass into this, in and of itself, not necessarily super impressive structure. It's this golden red colored castle, but but to call it a castle would be relatively a relative overstatement. What it is effectively is a longhouse, almost akin to more of a barracks than anything. And while there is a few towers at the bow and stern of this construct, overall it's a surprisingly very humble structure for what is, seemingly a decently well-off queen. But in the center of it all is a large set of oaken doors. And Lucian, given that I assume you're taking the lead on this, you push the double doors open. Inside, you all find a relative shelter from the heat of the desert. Although the humidity provided by the oasis's waters did already give you some welcome, cool air, separate from the humidity, or rather the dryness of the desert. As the four of you head in and the door shuts behind you and your eyes get a chance to adjust, you find the inside of the longhouse is lit by torchlight. And you find yourself in a relatively impressive internal structure. Supported by wooden columns that stretch from the floor to the ceiling, you find that this longhouse is essentially divided into rooms, but the rooms don't have walls, if that makes any sense. The support pillars almost acting as the corners of these arbitrary rooms. And in the center room is a long table. And you notice in the rooms on the left are several others that are a little bit smaller. But sitting at the middle table between the three, kind of overlooking the lengthy center one, but seeming to kind of be sitting on her own, you see Queen Sundragon. Out of her armor and wearing the same leathers that you had seen her in at the summer ball. Her hair is as usual, unkempt and running free, although you do see she appears to be tending to it. She has a bowl of still steaming hot food in front of her. And Caro, as you kind of take a curious look around, the only other two people in here appear to be a dark-haired man with a bow and arrow slung over his shoulder, and across from him, a muscular ginger woman in steel armor, although her helmet is removed. And you can see what appears to be a massive warhammer next to her, almost having its own little seat at the table. And the two of them are having kind of quiet conversation that hushes as soon as the four of you enter and the door shuts behind you. And Sundragon looks up at the four of you and gives a smile. Although, I'll say, Caleb, given that you're fairly decent at reading people, you do notice that her expressions, compared to the wild and snappy expression she typically bears, the smile is empty and doesn't quite reach her eyes. But she gestures to the long table and at the table she is sitting at with a smile. And, well, after everything, I'd hate to think of you guys as strangers. Go ahead, sit down. I'll have the cooks prepare something.
Sounds good.
As you all sit down, food is served. a halfling emerges from the kitchens and distributes bowls of this kind of stew, although it's a bit gamey and thick for stew, sort of crossing the boundary between a stew and a curry. But as Gil, you give it a kind of experimental taste. It's certainly palatable. A little spicy, but
No.
what's up?
Do they have anything vegetarian?
And go ahead, Caleb.
I was gonna note that Caleb is very respectful towards the servants.
Yeah, and as you thank the halfling, she seems kind of surprised, but gives you a bow and thank you, sir. And kind of darts to fetch a vegetarian meal for Lucian. And eventually, Lucian, what you were provided with in place of the stew, and the halfling kind of passes the stew over to Gil, and the halfling kind of smiles at you, and you almost get the impression of like just because you're so hulking and huge compared to the other party members, that she's just assuming you have to eat more.
Oh, he will eat it. This is really good.
She gives a smile. Oh, thanks very much. And Lucian, to you, she serves a humble but respectable salad.
Wonderful.
Once the halfling girl leaves, Sundragon, kind of thinking to herself, finally speaks up. I can't thank you guys enough for, fighting our battle
We
for
saved
us.
your bacon.
Yeah. And she kind of looks down at her food and kind of taps the spoon against the bowl in thought. With everything they took from us, we don't have enough to pay you as much as I'd like, but there is one source of wealth that they didn't get their hands on, and I've given it a lot of thought, and I think it's what he would have wanted. That dragon that came from the city and fought on the airship. I'm assuming he helped you guys out. I didn't see everything that happened. I was in the battle
my
myself.
life.
Good. She pauses for a while, seeming kind of lost in thought before. Their name was Sophist, and he's been the advisor to my family for generations, since our kingdom first came to be.
His name's Sundragon.
Yeah.
Yes, that makes sense.
Sophist had these ideas of what he wanted this kingdom to be. He hoped that if he could cultivate the best and brightest of humanity and anyone else who was willing to come along, that maybe he could do what the people of the Second Age never could, and he always called it Utopia. A perfect place. I don't know if we lived up to that in the end, but I like to think we came close.
Well, we lived up enough to it that he was willing to die for y'all. So I think he was happy with y'all.
Thanks. But like all dragons, he had a hoard. Not as big as some others. He spent most of it providing for us, but I think he would have wanted you guys to have at least some of it. You're fighting a good fight out there and trying to make sure our way of life doesn't get jeopardized by this concord. I think it's only fair that you have at least a cut of what he left behind.
I want you to be able to rebuild. Will you still be able to?
With everything in that hoard, even if you guys took half of it, we honestly could probably rebuild the damage, at least the worst of it. But if we take all of it for rebuilding ourselves, we won't be able to give you guys anything for what you've done. And that leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Well, y'all are going to fix my arms, as Lucian told me. So that's
Yeah.
good enough for me.
She kind of gives you a guilty look, but smiles and looks to you, Lucian.
Look, there's no really to it. It's true we could use the, but it doesn't sit well with me to take that from you. Even if you're offering it as payment from saving your bacon, but like, it just doesn't feel right. I mean, I didn't get to fight with him and feel guilty for taking anything.
Well, I
Must be
have an
going around.
idea that would make you feel better.
What's that?
You could work on resupplying us with just the stuff we need for our travels, and we can consider it even if the rest of the party is good with that.
Yeah, it's the least we can do. What about the two of you? And she looks to Caro and Caleb.
I think that'll be fine.
She looks to you, Caro.
I'm okay. I'm okay with this.
She kind of rubs the back of her head, and I just hate feeling like you guys gave me something for nothing. I never made a habit of owing anyone any debts. My parents didn't raise me that way.
They give it that.
We get everything on the airship,
Yes,
as y'all said.
A lot of things on that ship, and we plan to scour it. It's not like we're not coming up with.
Well, as long as it gets that eyesore out of my skyline.
We're working on it.
Yeah, we got some goblin friends that'll be taking it towards the mountains.
Goblins, huh?
They're good goblins. They're not like the bad. They're our friends.
Huh.
Yeah, remember the little goblin girl that we had?
Yeah, the little one wore furs.
It's her clan who's taking the airship.
Oh. She smiles and, well, sounds like there's a lot I missed, but I believe I still owe you tea, Lucian, so we can talk about it and you can bring me up to speed on what you've been doing while I'll have my doctors take a look at your arms, big guy, and for the rest of you, yeah, whatever you want from the airship is yours, and I'm just sorry I can't do more. And once you guys are back on the road, I actually might be joining you.
Oh.
Yeah, my army's been sitting idle for too long, and we did promise that we would help down south. That fucking bastard in the sky kept us busy, made it to where we couldn't get our armies out there in time. But with him dealt with and our lands freed up, we're going to have to take some time to make sure that none of those metal monsters that he dropped on us got left behind. But once we're sure that's cleared out, we'll start rebuilding Ogden and start marching an army down south.
Or
Well, our current plan was that we were going to be returning to our to me and Zephyr's.
I wouldn't argue if you want to go, kill Barbarous and take his country. I wouldn't argue.
And, yeah, Tebadra, Bandit Kingdom down south. They're part of the Alliance, aren't they?
Now they are, yeah.
Yeah,
Hi.
they're neutral, from what I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
No. I'm hoping my plan will be able to get them off their ass.
Ah. Someone's ambitious. I like it. And as for Barbarous, yeah, I might see about a little bit of expansion. At the very least, I can, if you guys are willing to wait for me, I can provide an armed escort.
That would be great. What do you think, Caleb? Do you think it's okay that we take out Barbarous on our way to go see your family?
I think
Yeah, I
it
still
could.
got a score to settle with them.
He's
Is
the
he
one
on
that
the
mostly
way?
wants us dead. So,
And yeah,
I
yes,
want him dead.
Yeah, it would basically be a very, very small detour east and then just continue going south. Like, basically a slight turn in the road.
It's on the way.
If you think we can do that already.
The least
Well.
we could do is, get her there.
Yeah, if nothing else, you guys just drop me and my people off, or I guess more, we drop you off at the outside of Barbarous territory, and we'll head deeper east to start helping out Autumnfall, and with any luck, maybe the two of us together can take that bastard out. And you guys can head south and stay with the bandits.
Well, if everything can go according to plan, then let's just say the Concord could start finding it very hard to move things around.
Yeah, between the airship and, from the sounds of it, a few raiders on our side. Yeah, I'd bet. And her mood does seem to be improving slightly. It seems like having something to plan for, some actionable thing to do, seems to be like restoring some of her energy that the death of her family advisor had denied her. And she kind of steels herself, and you can see the other two Sundragon people in the room, their mood kind of visibly improves along with hers as she gives a nod. And all right, I'll start going over the damage now that the battle's over, check for casualties, and anyone who's able and willing to fight, I'll get them ready to march. I'll have my doctors look over your arms. The rest of you are free to stay in town. I'll make sure everyone knows to, if they can't give you something for free, at least give you a discount.
Gil, could I borrow your boots so I can get up and down from the airship while you are getting your surgery?
Just bring them back.
I don't plan on keeping them.
And he will take them off and pass them to her. And the first thing you're gonna notice is that they.
Jesus.
Lucy just recoils visibly.
He sweats.
Oh,
Thank you.
one more thing. I got word that a small little pygmy saurian robbed the bank the other day.
Oh, yeah. That
Yeah.
would be...
Oh, no, honestly, I think it's hilarious. And in lieu of payment for him, just tell him that he's off the hook. We, like I said, have Sophus's hoard to sustain us. A few platinum coins aren't going to dent us that badly. And honestly, like I said, I think it was pretty funny.
I do appreciate
Sure,
that.
he
It
has
might
his
be
reason.
important.
Caleb?
Okay, I was just gonna say, I do appreciate that. He might be important to the plan.
I figure. Besides, even if I wanted to, arresting a foreign prince isn't exactly a good look. And I'm I'm looking to start a fight with Barbarous, not with Tebedra. At least not for now. And Lucian, what were you saying?
I don't remember. It's fine. I don't. My brain just. Yeet.
All right. Is there any final business, or are we ready to begin the downtime?
Kayla don't have
I'm ready.
Yeah, begin the downtime.
Zephyr, Kero?
Gil's going through all the arms he collected.
All right.
I'm good.
Zephyr?
Yeah, once Zephyr kind of knows what's going on, then
Yeah, I'll message Zephyr throughout the day and just be like, all right, you little prat, whatever the fuck you are, you got off. So,
Got off the
come
hook.
out if you want. You're lucky she's got a good sense of humor.
All right.
her sense of humor doesn't really interest me.
And with that, downtime.
Down.
Alright. Well,
The sun rises on Yav once again. In the months following the slaughter at the summer ball, instigated by a mysterious group calling themselves the Scar Concord, the political landscape of Yav has been irreversibly and irreparably altered. The kingdoms of Blackthorn, Autumnfall, Sundragon, Tebedra, and the Shadow Lily Confederacy stand together against these nations' attacks as the Western Alliance. Gyogre has gone quiet. Rumor tells of a military coup happening in their remaining territories that could spell the end of the once all-powerful Elvish Empire. The giant territories are facing a mass incursion by the Humor Empire invading from the southern shores. And after a massive loss of territory, the Argos Republic has been lost, and the Barodel has declared independence as a city-state, ruled by the Barrow Lord, Aurora Blackmont. What remains of Argos has been absorbed by the Barodel, as well as the Kingdom of Wyborn, who has gone into talks with the Kingdoms of Song and Basilius for diplomatic recovery from their association with the Concord. All the while, mysterious attacks at Blackthorn's eastern shores take place more and more frequently. Basilius has gone dark, the king's fears coming to reality, as a word spreads that a nest of dragons has descended on their land. All the while, pirates raid and plunder their way across the inner coastlines of the Blackened Sea. Meanwhile, out east, Hetman Melina Dimebog calls for the Winter Ball to be held on her lands. As a political figure not damned by association with the Concord or the Alliance, she hopes to be a figurehead for a united front against the Concord and for the once great Eastern nations to come together as they once had against the invasion of Barbarous nearly a century ago. The Emperor of Emporia still has yet to return to his lands. Word has not been heard from the Curtail Khanat in over a year, and the unaffiliated nations of the Yavik landscape look on, watching, waiting, reading the political landscape to determine what their next move should be. Their very survival and that of their nations may depend on it. Turning our attention back to the west, the Tieshan Valley has become soaked in blood. Autumnfall wages war alone against the military might of Barbarous, none of the promised aid their allies coming to bear any fruit. The Tebadrans have not been seen or heard from in months. Shadow Lily cowers behind her walls. Blackthorn, as always, watches from afar. But Sundragon promises aid is on the way. We turn our attention now to Capacitas. It's been 3 months since the party's incursion on that airship. It is now the 21st of Galet, the month of blizzards. And Gil, you have been freshly rearmed and have been for about a month now, but they insist on keeping you close at hand, as they do not want to risk you straining your artificial muscles and potentially causing any infection. As they actually mention whenever you're going in for surgery that your arms are already very badly infected.
Yeah.
I did my best.
Luckily, you couldn't feel it.
Yeah, that you suspect that's the only reason you weren't in agonizing pain. We turn our attention now to the individual activities of these scattered and discordant saviors of Sundragon, and those who helped the Baradel achieve independence, and those who have been waging a small crusade against the Scar Concord. Caleb, you make yourself comfortable in the surrounding lands. Capacitas, all things considered, it's foreign to you, but in a very pleasant and exotic way. You enjoy the sense of freedom you have, the fact that nobody seems to have any sense of expectation or decorum. People do acknowledge, they recognize you as a foreign prince and technically a diplomat and dignitary by proxy, but they don't seem to treat you any differently for that, and you actually find that somewhat relieving. In a sense, it's almost like an entire nation of people who behave the way you typically did at home. But what made you kind of stand out and be seen as somewhat awkward and strange, here you're simply seen as another face in the crowd. You enjoy the sight, both with and without quotation marks, and entertain yourself to the best of your young body and mind. Keto?
I also wanted to note
Go on.
that he was going to talk with Sundragon, basically because his plan would involve putting Tobiadra more in a sense of danger. He'd want to make sure that if the Concord gets annoyed with the bandits, they won't just get wiped off the map while the others watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I was going to get to that, but yes, Sundragon promises that once she is able to get a military foothold on the southern front, while she does acknowledge that Tobiadra has not come to anyone's aid despite saying they would, she acknowledges most of the Western Alliance has been doing that, and she, for one, does not intend to continue the trend. She promises that at the very least she and her army will be there to protect the bandits, even if the bandits will not return the favor.
Because KO's plan might put Tobiadra in the crosshairs, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Keto, feel free to state otherwise, as you didn't say too much about what you'd be doing in your downtime, but you continue your correspondence with Queen Blackthorn, keeping her updated on the state of affairs, and you notice she is particularly relieved and happy whenever you say that that someone she cares about is safe and uninjured and none the worse for wear despite the harsh incursion. Caro, is there just, since again you were the only one who didn't say too much about what you'd be doing in your downtime, is there anything in particular you'd like to do?
Guess I'll take the boys out hunting and show the dragon its first hunt.
All right. You take your little blue dragon hatchling out hunting along with the rest of the little animal pack you're establishing, and that actually gives you something of a real-time glimpse over the next few months of just nature recovering. Thankfully, the life in the desert is harsh and unforgiving at the best of times, so the creatures and fauna are able to recover from Tropu and Brogdu's incursion relatively quickly. And soon enough, you and your pack are hunting alongside the just standard poachers and hunters of Sundragon, and hunting with the best of them. And you find yourself having not not a small amount of drinks being shared with you in the Patchwork Inn, as various hunters that went out with you just congratulate you on a job well done and commemorate your marksmanship and your exotic weaponry. Zephyr, one of the original three. You contend yourself with other matters. You regroup with the party shortly into their stay, and while you are more or less mum to what you were up to, the party themselves seems unhurt. In fact, by the time you'll see Gil again, he'll actually be better than when you last saw him. You don't feel any particular reason to feel bad about leaving them to the battle, as they seem to have sorted it out well enough. And from, I'm going to assume, Caro and your brother mostly, you get a condensed version of the events that transpired on the airship. And taking your hard stolen loot, you busy yourself with making the pilgrimage east, where you return to the city of Edict and start making negotiations with the leader of the Reapers to acquaint yourself with some more magic items. Doing this gives you some perspective on what Edict is up to in the meanwhile. Neon, as the new technical officer under Commissioner Voter, is making quite a few reforms. The Peacekeepers are now a much more reliable and protective force that does not simply cater to Upper Edict and leave Lower Edict to their problems, which the Reapers kind of acknowledge is annoying, but their operation is fairly sizable, and even they acknowledge that it's better than what was going on before, where everyone was on the chopping block. So while you do occasionally have to haggle for prices, given that they've fallen on some hard times, you do eventually come to an arrangement with your old friend and acquaint yourself with some new magic items.
Sadly, cannot get the belt. I'm too broke for that. Would have been funny. Me stronger than Gil.
Yeah. Sucks too, because I actually had the flavor of what the Giant's belt was going to be from Edict anyway. It was going to be like a fucking one of those like really, those like small little mech suits where it's like an exoskeleton that like helps you like power lift stuff, like Halo style. It's going to be something like that. Anyway, Lucian, you focus your studies on your studies of Queen Sundragon. To your surprise, though, she is actually a rather chaste woman, and while she does happily,
Thank God.
while she does happily hang out with you, she does not seem to have any outright expectations of you. And anytime this, although at one point, probably about a month in, the subject does get brought up, but she just kind of offhandedly mentions that if you were officially courting her, it would be different. But essentially, this is her equivalent of sort of a fling, which is disappointing, but also kind of remarkable to you that for her, it's more casual to sit and have a conversation with somebody, whereas, of course, you're more used to the cultures on your side of the Yavik map, where
I do find that interesting, though.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to ask her how does one from. Where is she from?
She actually doesn't say initially, but over the course of getting to know her, she finally does acknowledge, just kind of offhandedly, that she is from the land of Midgard.
I'll ask her about her custom.
Talking about her customs, and you just kind of chat with her as you go through Tropu's archives and libraries and laboratories, and just start essentially deconstructing the airship piece by piece as much as you can. As the goblins are, of course, preparing themselves for the move and the renovations and making sure that all the loot and valuables gets taken off of the ship, which the goblins mentioned will just lighten the load anyway. Sundragon kind of mentions, kind of offhandedly, that where she comes from, at least the traditions she's used to, is that depending on the circumstances, one would either simply just make a display of courtship by whatever means they happen to deem appropriate. Although she does mention that in her culture, actions speak louder than words. Although she does mention offhandedly that in her parents' generation, it was tradition to simply find a person you found attractive and just kidnap them.
Wow. Reference.
She like Lucian like suddenly like start to panic. just plain panic.
And she actually comments that is how her parents met. And her grandparents
If you
before them
hoarded
did
a
the
bag
same.
during this time.
Funny that she should say that. You know how my parents met? My mother's father liked my dad, so it was basically like an arranged marriage.
Yeah, that's not too different then.
And if you get down to the nitty gritty, sure.
Deconstructing, just blazing on by that. From the various display cases, not counting the one that obviously Gil managed to break open and steal, you find the following items being just displayed in various places on the airship, which are now free for the taking.
Mm-hmm.
Boots of levitation, broom of flying, boots of striding and springing,
Boots
carpet of flying, cloak of the bat, eagle whistle, winged boots, wings of flying, and wingwear.
You went really fast. I only got
I'll
3
put
of
it in
those.
chat. I was more saying for everyone else. Basically, I was saying it so that anyone who knows their D&D items could hear one and be like,
Yeah, I'm taking that broom of flying. It's mine.
All right, so if anyone else
I'll
is
put
interested,
everything else in my bag of holding.
if any of those interest any of you besides the broom of flying, just say the word and Lucian should pass it on. Lucian, you find that, again, in Tropu's just arrogance and desperation, he had accumulated all of these magical items, seemingly any magical item he could find that would even theoretically give him the ability of flight, but for one reason or another, their drawbacks just didn't satisfy him. Their limitations made them not preferential, and he moved on to what he eventually ended up trying to do. And as you deconstruct the airship more and more, you're just more and more disgusted by the waste of resources. The goblins start mentioning that you have to start looting quickly because the thing had to cut down an entire swath of the Summersea forest just to fuel itself long enough to get through this invasion. And this thing is... Yeah. And bear in mind, that invasion in and of itself was like about a week, so they had to cut down an entire swath of forest just to keep this thing in the air for a few days.
I'm gonna tell them, you use the last of this fuel and promise me you will not fly it again.
Raccoon gives you a nod, and of course, I don't like being in the air anyway.
I know, right? It's really weird.
You find in Tropu's labs, along with the books with the list of spells I sent you, since you'll get the most use out of them, various just blueprints and schematics, not just for the ship itself, but for other versions of the design. And you start to notice something, and as you kind of look at the blueprints side by side, again, this is all taking place over the course of weeks and months, you realize Tropu didn't design these. He had stolen them.
Is there any indication where he stole them from?
Make a history check, just to see if you'll recognize the name when you find it.
Hell yeah, I am doing that shit. I'm efficient in history. Come on, Lucian, don't fuck me! Oh, don't fuck me, don't fuck me, don't fuck me! Oh, okay,
25.
25.
The scripture is initially foreign to you, as you of course know to speak Common and Yavik. However, you're a smart cookie. You're eventually able to decipher that this is Perusian script, and that
Okay.
he had gotten this from Caro's homeland, specifically a place called Reedstown.
Reed.
Reedstown.
R-E-E-D.
Readees town.
Okay.
And yeah, from the looks of it, Tropu or someone he knew stole these blueprints from this Reedstown place, which, judging from the language used, is from the same place Caro is from.
I'm gonna take all of these blueprints and everything that I can find from this Reedstown, and also put them in, like, just in the course of the month. Just take everything that I possibly can. I want to bring them to Caro, and I want to ask her about those later. Do I find anything in the lab for my chemistry and my alchemy?
To your disappointment, not really. Most of what is, however, I will say, like I said, most of what is in Tropu's labs are machines, things that he was trying to do to give himself mobility. However, you do find a couple things that might be useful to you. In your searches, you find the brains in jars that Gil found.
Yeah.
And
I have that circled.
since you again have weeks and months to study this, you realize Tropu had taken these from creatures that could fly in the hopes of potentially doing a brain transplant.
Okay. Question.
Yes, answer.
Tropu's body, is it still there?
Yes, Tropu and Brogdu's body are still there, as you don't know what.
Could I take it down to could I take it down to like the little laboratories and do an autopsy on him and see if I can't figure out if it was generational or like what the problem was?
Like with Tropu specifically?
Yeah.
Make a medicine check. However, yes, as Caleb mentioned, the body is very heavily rotted, so there's going to be
I'm used to it.
Yeah, it's what you're used to, but it's still going to be at disadvantage because the DNA and whatnot is starting to degrade.
Okay. It's plus 8. 17.
Lucian, as you grab Tropu's headless body, drag it up into his old lab and plop it on the table that was originally intended for brain surgery and start opening him up. Yeah, at this point, you're in your element, and I'm assuming you do this for mostly whenever Sundragon's not present, so you're usually alone for this.
If she wants to be present, she's not gonna Lucian's not gonna argue with her.
Yeah. But cutting open the Tengu and investigating his internals, admittedly, you're not an expert on goblin anatomy, but after acquainting yourself with what you suspect to be normal, a lot of this is conjecture, and you yourself, as a medical quote-unquote professional, are aware of this. So bear in mind that this is your conjecture and not, objective. But by your best judgment, it appears that Tropu was simply born with some kind of disability. You can't tell if it would have run in the family or not. He never talked about his parents, and he certainly isn't in a state to tell you about them now. But
well, I mean,
actually,
he has no jaw.
Actually, is his head in the other room?
No, his head's gone.
Yeah, his head
Caleb boiled it, and it disintegrated.
It exploded.
Damn it, Caleb! Couldn't have gone for the heart.
I mean, he was using a laser gun, and whenever
I know, but Lucian is
she's
just complaining.
Just kind of muttering to herself in Russian.
If he was going to aim for the heart, he can't hit what's not there.
Okay, so it was some kind of disability. Whether was it neurology, or was it just a physiology?
Real quick, Caleb, what were you saying before I continue?
I was just commenting on a character. As Lucian probably knows, the head is full of liquid. And whenever you rapidly heat liquid in a sealed container, it bursts.
Like a Pepsi can in the freezer. Yeah,
she
she understands. She's
how.
kind of just bitching to herself in Yavik, basically.
Basically, yeah, she understands. She's just
I wish I knew
Yeah,
Russian
level
swears, but anyway.
some.
But Lucien, studying his body, it appears he was completely paralyzed from the waist down. He was unable to walk. You also
Was it
noticed that
like it was neurological or?
Okay, I'll say this. I'm not a doctor in real life, so I apologize to any medical know-how people. But
That would be me.
from the looks of it, it is mostly muscular. His legs didn't develop properly from a young age, as far as you can tell. The bones are kind of warped and odd-looking. And you notice that he also appears to have had a form of muscular dystrophy, but a very extreme form. He could use his hands, clearly, but he wasn't physically strong enough to fly, as most of his kind can. So from the looks of it, he was a paraplegic who also had a very extreme muscular dystrophy. His wings and legs were badly atrophied, and while his head is not available for you to examine, you do recall from the ball that he also appeared to be partially deaf and very nearsighted. From the looks of it, the only part of his body that functioned properly was his brain and his mouth.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Caleb took away the only parts of his brain, of his body that worked.
Well, yes, that's good as anything. What else? I know you said that there was money.
Yes, there is quite a bit of loot. Just basically stolen coins and goods from the Sundragon vaults and houses. As I mentioned to you in private chat, let me scroll back up to that. In total, there's about 10,500 gold worth of stolen material from Sundragon.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll just split that between everybody but Zephyr. And then one last thing I want to find is the dragon egg, if there are any.
Okay, and real quick, so 10,500 among everyone in the party but Zephyr, so that'll be not that much. Hold on, doing some math. 4 ways. Everyone can add 2,625 gold to their inventory.
Wait, 2,600?
2,625.
2,625.
Yeah, 2,625. Carol, you got that as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got some money.
And Lucien, it takes you some time. They're actually not in Tropu's main lab, but again, you saw that Kara had clearly acquired a baby dragon somewhere, and where there's a baby dragon, there has to be eggs, and where there is an egg, there's usually more than one. And indeed, you find, shockingly, again, not present in the lab area where they would be being actively studied, but in one of the engine rooms, specifically one of the ones towards the bow. You find that the engine that is powering the fires that in turn heat the balloons and obviously keep the turbines spinning, it appears that various dragon eggs have been stored with the engines, presumably so that the heat will help incubate them. Each engine room has a small cluster of eggs to them. In total, over just months of checking every room and corner of this airship, you are able to find 11 additional dragon eggs that are still being baked by the heat of the furnaces.
One very important question. Is there a golden one?
That you can see, no. Most of them appear to be blue, green, or red.
Okay, I'm gonna take those down to me with down to Sundragon. Have her pick one.
As you approach her with these eggs,
and I'll be like, "Well, you said display of action." I mean, I know that it was hard on you to lose. How do you pronounce his name? Sulfurid?
Sophist.
Sophist. Sorry, I wrote it in a very messy thing. So I was like, what does that say? So I know it was really hard for you to lose Sophist. So I thought maybe you could just raise a new dragon.
It's more complicated than that, Lucian. Sophist raised me. He raised my parents, my grandparents, and
I know, but think of it, a new generation.
well, also these dragons don't think like Sophist does. These guys are, I'm gonna steal your sheep.
I mean, not. I don't think that's like inherent. I don't really know much of dragons, but if you raise them to be better than that, don't you think that they would?
Make a persuasion check.
Okay. I'm proficient in that. Don't fuck. It's not great. 8.
21.
21.
Not great. But it's a 21.
I mean, rolled a 13.
Like, that's still pretty good. It's like me, not great, but I get a 30 when I roll stealth or sleight of hand.
Higher levels. She hesitates, but eventually cautiously takes a red dragon egg, and kind of looking to you, she kind of smirks, and I have no idea how to raise these things, right?
That would make both of us. I plan on taking one myself.
Well, good luck with that. And thanks. And she gives you a smile, and after a bit of consideration, gives you a hug. And again, while it's relatively chaste and respectful, it's some of the more directly and overtly physical she's been with you, as for the most part,
Yeah,
she
no, a hug is good.
keeps your
I
interactions
accept a
very
hug.
casual.
I like hugs.
Beyond that, you spend most of your time getting the goblins ready for the move, making sure that Gil's recovery and surgery is going well, giving Tropu an impromptu autopsy, and eventually, whenever you, I presume, allow the goblins to decide what to do with him and Brogdu's bodies, they admit that normally they would just simply eat them, but given the...
I mean, be my guest. I'm not going to stop you.
They also acknowledge that given that working for them was a huge pain in the ass and they almost got all of them killed, they settle for simply chucking what's left of the bodies into the turbines.
I am fine with that. Good riddance to bad rubbish, right? I'm gonna ask Caro something real quick.
Right.
If you don't. So whenever she's not doing that, I want to go over to Caro.
Yeah, so Caro, as you're just idling about the town, I'll say you're out on the street near the market, just probably picking up some stuff for the day. Lucian approaches you, kind of towing along a dragon egg and a few other supplies from the ship.
I have all of the dragon eggs except for the red one that I gave to Sundragon.
Well, they're huge.
Caro, help! Caro! I don't know what to do with these eggs. I want, let's say, you said there was a blue one and a...
Blue, green, and red.
Yeah, there's blue, green, and red ones. At this point, after Sundragon took a red one and a blue one was hatched, there are 3 green ones, 2 blue ones, and 3 red ones.
How big are these eggs?
Fairly big!
I'm gonna take a green one, because that's my favorite color.
Caro, make me a nature check with advantage.
Okay.
Pulls out.
Like, Caro, help! I don't know what to do.
Nature. There you go.
Yeah, because I believe dragons are one of your favorite enemies. Is that correct?
Are they? I don't know.
No, it was goblins and elementals.
Yeah, it was goblins.
But regardless, we've established you have a history with dragons, so you'd probably still know this anyway.
Yeah.
So, how'd you do?
19.
Caro, you spot an immediate problem as you see Lucian towing, I'm going to say a green dragon egg, as, again, these things are fairly big, Lucian. You would struggle to carry 3 of them, let alone 8 of them.
Yeah, I'll just say that they're in my bag of holding.
Yeah. Caro, you spot an immediate problem. Dragon eggs need extremely high temperatures to incubate, and while the desert is hot, it is not that hot. You think at best the blue ones might be okay, but the green and red ones are going to need much higher heat, or there's going to at best be developmental problems. At worst, they might just straight up die.
Oh,
Sure.
we're gonna need to make an incubator. The blue ones may be okay, but even them.
Yeah, I'll say.
Well,
Luckily, Caro, as it appears, these dragons are mostly ones collected from where you came from. You're actually familiar with how these dragon eggs are typically incubated. Green ones will typically be in incredibly hot and humid areas of swampland where their parents will bathe them in burning hot sulfur. Red dragon eggs will typically be bathed in the fire from their parents' breath, which is insanely hot. And the blue dragons are buried in extremely hot sand in the desert.
Blue ones. Well, we could do that here. That would be okay. The other two, though, will be hard. They
What
need
do I need
hotter
to do?
temperatures. Well, the red ones would have fire from their parents, and the others would have sulfur. The blue ones can be buried in the sand.
Because I kind of gave Sundragon a red one, and I want this green one. Do you think you can help us?
Can't Sundragon do fire right?
Yeah, you guys saw her doing a fire ability while fighting.
I can do fire too. I have fire. Hang on.
But bear in mind, you would need to do it basically constantly for potentially.
I mean, it has Sacred Flame as a cantrip, so I can do
I'll
that.
also say, Caro, something you would also know with a 19 is that dragon eggs can take potentially hundreds of years to hatch.
Yeah. I don't know how close these are to hatching, but considering this one hatched, they may be close, but we will have no idea.
Will like, cause I can do Sacred Flame like every minute, so like, would that work?
Not unless you're doing it constantly.
I mean, Sacred Flame it's a cantrip, so I mean, I essentially can do it.
Like every minute? You mean every 6 seconds?
It's instant. It's
Flame is
instantaneous.
radiant, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll also remind you that sacred flame is a sacred flame, not a sacred flame.
Basically, there's not really a way to make Lucian's plan work.
If we should check if where they're being kept on the ship is an incubator.
Have they left yet?
No, they will likely leave towards the end of the downtime, as again, you're still looting and getting everything off the ship.
Okay. I'll use my little broom of flying, and I'll fly right on up there.
Alright. And while it appears... And, Caro, do you want to tag along?
Sure. I'll check on the eggs while I'm there.
Yeah. You find that it was a bit of a makeshift incubator, but yes, the heat of the engine is incredibly hot, and it's in a sealed room that it appears that people don't actually go into that often, so it's likely that these engine rooms were simply used as makeshift incubators to at least get close to the amount of heat that these dragons would need. Caro, I'll say you estimate it's a little too cold for them, but it's clearly enough for it to work, but it's likely not ideal. Like, essentially the equivalent of, like, you know, you can put, like, you know, like how you can put a tortoise in a fridge for a while and it'll just go into hibernation. It's kind of like that, except with eggs, and except instead of hibernation, it's brain damage.
Oh, this can work if we make it hotter.
Yeah. We can. Don't want to like use the fuel to. I mean, this is just really complicated, isn't it? Because like, how are we going to get all of these dragon eggs to like hatch so she can have it and like?
It's almost like
I just want to help.
raise dragons.
Yeah.
I want to help.
Unless we can find a dragon that will want to take care of these eggs, there's not really many options.
Yeah, fun fact, in my Friday game, the players literally ran into the almost exact same situation just by chance, and their solution in the end was keep them in a literal furnace for months, and then whenever they got impatient, they hired a time wizard to speed them up by hundreds of years so they would hatch.
I mean, that would work. I could leave my egg with Sundragon, and these guys can take the rest of the eggs, I guess.
Okay.
Yes, we should tell them how to take care of them at least.
Well, you can do that, and then when you're done with that, will you come with me to talk to her and help me like explain things? Because like I'm not really good at that.
Kill what's going
Although, a thought strikes Kara. She wants to hold up her little blue dragon
What
child.
color do you want?
And go ahead, Kara.
Can you talk yet? Not yet.
I'll take that as a yes.
Yeah. Oh, you can. Good.
Would Kara know like how long it takes for dragons to be able to talk?
Carol, given that you already rolled nature, I'll let you judge. I'd be willing to take either, so I'll let you decide.
It's different for every dragon, so I think Caro has an idea that they do it fast, but not the specifics for each one.
Yeah, I will say you're at least familiar that some dragons will literally hatch and immediately be able to hold a fluent conversation. All right. Lucian, you and Caro spend the better part of a week or two, like running back and forth from the airship to the palace, trying to get these dragon eggs acclimated before they're, by their standards, freezing for too long. And finally, that brings us to Gil. Gil, you spend the better part of the downtime just straight up unconscious. The surgery is long and hard and unforgiving. You mentioned that you would have brought in all the prosthetics that were on Tropu's ship.
Yeah.
But I did mention this to you off screen, but I'll mention it here as well. Most of them were made with Tropu in mind, so most of them do not fit you. You can use them, and that will make the surgery cheaper, but you'll have arms that are half the size of your normal ones.
Oh, I thought you said there was some on there that were from assorted other creatures. Like
there are, but those still don't really fit you comfortably. And even then, bear in mind these are also relatively old and in disrepair. Tropu seem to be more just maintaining them as like either prototypes to study or just as like showpieces. So between size discrepancies, issues with compatibility, and just lack of maintenance, they say they can, again, similar to what I told you off screen, they can try, and if it works, it will certainly be a cheaper process than importing prosthetics from elsewhere in the kingdom. But they acknowledge that while it'll be cheaper, it'll also be more risky because there's no guarantee that you'll take to an ancient prosthetic that wasn't even made for your species.
Yeah, he just brought them as like hey, these are available, but they work.
Yeah,
but since
they do
risky,
yeah, but they do accept taking them off your hands, and say that once the kingdom has had time to kind of financially recover, they'll pay you for the scrap, basically, because they can always repair these, check them over, and then potentially use them.
Maybe even learn something from them.
Yeah. So they do say they'll compensate you. They just need time to get the funds together.
He'll take an IOU.
Yeah. That said, Gil, I will let you decide how your prosthetics look. This is a big character thing for you, after all. I think it'd be wrong of me to deny you that. So, after several months, Zephyr, you returning from a shopping spree in Edict, Kero, you and Lucian at the palace helping Sundragon with her egg. Caleb, you are called up along with the others to the palace, where Gil is proudly shown by the Sundragon doctors to be recovered. Gil, what do your new arms from the shoulders down look like?
Pretty much envision the Winter Soldier with his prosthetic arm, and that's what Gil has for both of his.
No.
Interesting.
All right. You guys see that Gil's arms from again the shoulder down are now these kind of interlocking steel plates with like strong flexing motions. You can just make out like moving gears and wires beneath them. While it has this like fine industrial visage, you can see that the inside is still firmly like steampunk. But Gil, the process is, well, calling it painless would be wrong. You knew soldiers back in Gyogre who had to go through similar procedures, and you do have to take a few days out of your recovery to just acknowledge the realities of what your life is going to be like going forward. There will be phantom pains, there will be nightmares, there will be maintenance costs and like things you have to worry about that other people don't. But and Sundragon herself actually talks with you at one point, as she also has had soldiers injured in the line of duty, that it does not make you any less of a person, and that just because it's different doesn't make it worse. And she ardently and cheerfully supports you as you learn to use these new prosthetics properly, and eventually you're able to use them just as much, if not better, than your old ones. Stats-wise, since you didn't pay for like extra bonuses, you do not get.
I didn't know what you were planning for that, so I didn't know if I could add bonuses or.
Well, because it was mentioned in Edict you could, but you didn't do that. So, but
Okay.
in terms of stats, the only difference is you can detach or reattach them as an action if you want.
Neat.
Okay.
You so you're the detachable kid. I love it.
Yeah, arm fall off elf. And in the days following, as Gil is finally cleared for release and allowed to go about Capacitas with all of you and actually enjoy the city for what it is finally, instead of from the confines of a hospital or the palace, you all watch and can hear odd sounds and cheers and uproar from the people of Capacitas as the airship flies overhead. You guys hadn't noticed it before, but there's actually something of a flag attached to the airship. A green flag with 3 black circles in a line, acting as their coat of arms. You watch as the airship eclipses Capacitas from the sky, shadowing the entire city as it flies overhead, as with Lucian getting the eggs and the last of the loot off of the ship. Sorry, I had to sneeze. You watch as Raccoon, along with their reunited family and colony, begin to make for the Western Mountains, using what's left of the fuel of the airship to likely find a safe place to land and establish themselves. And Lucian, you can just make out as you kind of look up, not even having to shield your eyes, as again the airship literally blocks out the sun. You can actually see on the back of the ship, it has a name that you hadn't noticed before.
Oh.
Svarog, the Yavik god of the sky.
Oh.
As this great draconic airship, piloted by goblins in Katengu, united under Lorelei Telbrant. Goblin Colony, I'm going to have the number written down just a second. Goblin Colony 1446, under Raccoon's leadership, flies into the sunset towards the mountains, prepared to make a new home for themselves out of the ruins that Tropu and Brogdu left behind. Tropu's monument to his desperation, his arrogance, his willingness to steal, kill, and hurt to get what he wanted, is now nothing but ruins for those he left behind to build up upon. And the person that Brogdu tried to deny the birthright of is back in her rightful place as the goblin boss of Colony 1446.
That's our girl.
So how are the
that-
dragon eggs doing?
Sundragon has essentially cordoned off part of the kitchens in the palace to essentially just act as an incubator, literally having them baking in the fires where stews and such would ordinarily be being served. And with that, months have passed. Sundragon, a little frazzled, is tending to the dragon eggs and preparing to march an army. And she seems a little stressed by having to get attached to these dragon eggs and then immediately have to assign someone to take care of them while she marches off to war. Sundragon prepares to amass an army. Caro, you can tell the animals are itching to get back on the move. And as the Sundragon warriors begin to come to arms, gather their weapons, as Sundragon basically puts out a call for a militia to be assembled, and almost, I'd say a good chunk of Capacitas answers the call, as she declares her intention to rush to the aid of Autumnfall and invade Barbarous, and with any luck, take him out. All of you, as the city is in an uproar of militia members gathering their rifles, their crossbows, their hunting bows, their swords, their axes, their daggers, as everyone is scrambling to grab weapons and join the militia. Zephyr, with your fresh pieces of technology from Edict. Lucian, fresh spells in your spellbook and magic items in tow. Gil, prosthetics, kind of flexing the metal a bit to make sure you can still lift your ionic axes. Caleb, kind of stretching almost like a cat as you're relaxed enough to get limber up and be back on the move. And Kero, plasma crossbow and animal menagerie in tow. You guys begin to assemble your caravan, and the Sundragon militia readies to march south, making their way towards the Tieshan Valley, across it, and towards the Barbarous territories. As you guys make preparations to go your own way, potentially staying with the marching Sundragon army for a time, but for the most part focusing your efforts on heading south to the kingdom of Tebedra, where from the sounds of it, Caleb and Zephyr's family has just kind of gone dark. They haven't been raiding either side. And Caleb makes negotiations behind the scenes with the Sundragon Queen for what role Tebedra will be taking in this conflict going forward and what role his family may have in it. And Zephyr, you may be relatively indifferent to the politics of your family, but you still acknowledge you have a place in them. And you and Caleb both know that given what happened between you two and your father when you last saw him, and the fact that both of you got word from your siblings that competition for the throne is being whispered about, you both know that whatever's going to happen when you get back into bandit country is going to be serious, as there's a lot going on that you need to think about. Again, what happened between you and your parents, the fact that this was mentioned way back when, but I believe it may have been forgotten about, so I want to mention it, that you guys heard that you have a new sister since you last left Tebedra. And, of course, the strange goings-on of Tebedra just not attacking anyone, not even raiding in caravans from opportunity's sake. Had you guys prepared to make the journey south and return to the bandit boys' homeland, but before you get there, you have an active war zone to cross, where, just as you guys have a bone to pick with Governor Barbarous, he has something of a bone to pick with you. As when last you met, you almost drowned him on dry land, and and he almost killed Pietro and almost absconded with all of you to deliver you to the Scar Concord personally. As you all prepare to join the Sundragon militia as they march south, that is where we're going to end tonight's session. Did everyone get to do everything they wanted to do on downtime?
Yeah.
I mean, I know Lucian, you mentioned talking to me about a book.
Yeah, Lucy.
Oh, yeah, we can just say you went ahead and did that, like, either off-screen, or you can just do that during the march.
Yeah, and I guess if I have the book, I'll use it.
Alright. So, I'll tell you what, just both of you go ahead and write it down, and we can just have that happen while you guys are traveling with the militia. So that way we can also see what skills Zephyr picks up. Is that alright with you two?
Yep.
Alright. So everyone good?
Yeah, and Gil's addiction's broken by this point, right?
Yes, between the surgery and your time spent in hospice, yes, your addiction to Star Blast has been combated, as well as Lucian, since you didn't pick up any proficiency, you also had time to grapple with your addiction. It took both of you months of painful effort, but you do manage to overcome your addiction to caffeine and to Star Blast.
But I love my caffeine. I do have one note that I want to note down. Lucian is going to be on her broom, kind of like with Sundragon and her army.
Okay, noted.
Kind of like her broom, and then Nisha's going to be like on the tip of it. So like,
yeah,
it's like
Sabrina the Teenage Witching it.
Yeah, like it's Kiki's delivery service, you know.
All right.
And there's a couple of things I want to buy, but I want to private message you about that, and it can be done off screen.
Okay. All right, and yeah, because the party's going to have to make some preparations before running out to join a potentially several days march south anyway. So, all right, so yeah, just... If you want to see more of my DMing, check out twitch.tv/GrahamCrackers, GrameCrackers, for my Friday campaign, The Goldshine Investigations at 7 o'clock Central Daylight Time, featuring a party of investigators trying to unravel the cultish conspiracy that threatens to plunge their home into war. Check out our website at officiald5hub.info. Resurrect from the grave like a filthy necromancer trying to hatch dragon eggs and not exactly being Hiccup Haddock. Check out our link in chat to join our official D5 Discord server if you want to hang out with us directly, and support our episodes posted on Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Google Podcasts, and the iHeart Podcast Network. Wherever you happen to get them from, you can probably find them.
Also now on the website.
Also on the website. For our audio listeners, catch us live on Tuesdays at 9:30 Central Daylight Time on twitch.tv/Odd Tornado Productions and on the Odd Tornado Productions YouTube channel to catch up on what you missed. And check out Odd Tornado Productions Official on Tumblr to find links to our other works, including our Human Rogues Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Killer5. That is 5 with a PH. Don't spell it wrong, please. And if you enjoy what we do, please support us on Patreon. That link's about to be posted in chat. Or on Ko-fi at kofi.com/oddtornadoproductions. And follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/tornadoodd. The T and O are in fact capitalized. As the party makes their final preparations in Capacitas to join the Sundragon militia's march to wage war against Barbarous and reunite with the Tabadran family and see what exactly is going on in the forest down south. Thanks everyone at the table so much for playing. Thanks everyone at home so much for watching. And we'll see you all next week.